This is the future. Evolution.
The Crossing Realms Conference launches September 19th and 20th and will dock in Richmond, Missouri. This is already being called the event of the year, folks. With an unprecedented list of speakers and special guests, 2 days of cryptids, UFOs, and paranormal presentations, along with a celebrity-filled ghost hunt, meet and greet, gallery reading, vendors, and a film screening. This promises to be both educational and fun. Go to Eventbrite.com to secure your tickets and vendor slots before they are all abducted. They're going fast.
It's that time. Hello. Good afternoon, everybody. Of course, it is time for Brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob. Every Thursday, 1 o'clock in the East. Thanks for coming on in. We have a pretty cool show, a little different show for you, a little different format change. As Monica brought herself up early, well, why not? Why not, Monica?
I did. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you did.
I'm so sorry.
But that's a great way to start because, hey,
I'm so sorry. I have split screens and I thought I was clicking on the other side.
Well, gosh darn it. Well, she's so excited because she's my new co-host. Now, Tex is in the mix. Tex, don't worry about Tex. I just found out today, I kind of knew that Tex really can't co-host this show anymore because of his work schedule. And this is like the 5th time he's done this in 4 years. I had Krista, I had Brandy, I had Brent, and now I have Monica for the duration. So thank you, Monica, for taking your time out.
I love co-hosting with you. I think it's so fun.
Okay, well, awesome. I'm glad to have you. Glad that
you want me to go shuffle my butt back into the
fade
into the background for a minute?
No, you're good. I can do the thing with you. With that being said, I might as well just bring up Krista because Krista says, "Hey, what are you doing?" I go, "Well, I'm doing my show." She goes, "Oh, is Tex coming on?" I said, "No, I found his replacement." She goes, "Well, I'm not doing nothing. Who is it?" I go, "It's Monica." She goes, "Oh, cool. Can I come on?" I go, "Well, yeah, join the party."
Yeah, I took a PTO today.
You had a PTO day. So I got, actually 2 of my ladies from the Saturday night show. So we got a little something different today.
Right.
Yeah.
So thanks for coming in. Of course, Monica came on a tad early, so I forgot.
I'm so embarrassed. I am so sorry.
Well, at least you weren't eating. At least you weren't getting your little crackers and cheese that you had backstage. At least you got rid of that, right?
I did.
Well, if this is your first time, everybody, please subscribe to Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube. Krista, the Blondie and the Booze Paranormal Podcast, along with Brandy, and of course, Monica Rollins, Our Paranormal World, found on YouTube, which I believe is 10 o'clock my time, or 11. No, it's 10 Central, 11 in the East. The Blondes are on Thursday, Friday, 8 Central, 9 Central, and the other one on Wednesday, 6 Central. I probably messed up all the times.
7 Central, I think. Yeah, 7.
Yeah. Well, you guys are on 3 times.
Yes.
Yeah. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Brandy's on 3 times. I'm on twice on Blondes.
Yes, correct. She runs that show with Randy and Donnie with the debunking photos and video and stuff like that, which is pretty cool.
With her tinfoil, right?
No, it's
that's actually
Paranormal Show and Tell.
Yeah,
a Paranormal Show and Tell.
See, Monica, we have so many. We're on like 7 days a week. I think we're not on Sundays. The only day none of us. I don't do nothing on Sunday.
Between Brandy and I, we do 11 shows a week.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because you guys co-host on other shows. I'm on 4 days a week on this channel.
Yep.
Tuesday, Thursdays, every other Friday and Saturday. 3 days for sure, sometimes 4. And then I also leave Wednesday open because I go on other people's shows as a guest on Wednesdays. So I'm kind of always on.
Yeah, Monica, you're getting quite a schedule too, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm doing my shows Thursdays. I do the Breezy Speakeasy over on his channel on Friday nights,
right.
And then Rob on Saturday, and now this on Thursday. So
yeah,
and it up.
We all stay busy.
Yeah, we're always busy with outside of our personal lives. I guess it's part of the personal life when you do shows, right?
Just turn one of our channels on, people. You're sure to see.
Yeah, you're sure to
Yeah,
find
evening.
something.
You'll see one of our faces, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't forget, everybody, the super chat's open. A great way to support what we do. You can become a BMR pirate, mateys. Arr! Join the many, join the few, depending on your point of view. You get a picture of good old BMR with a bandana in the background next to your name in the chat room. Yes, you do. That's what you get. And also, really briefly, I'm going to thank everybody. My books found on Amazon. Simply type Bigfoot Michiganrob in your Amazon browser. True Cryptid Encounters Book 1 and 2. Leave a review. It does help promote book sales. It's the analytics, you guys, like on YouTube. Hit the like button, leave a comment, blah, blah, blah. Thanks in advance for that. I think I covered all the business. Now, we've got the conference coming up. Gosh, I always say this. I don't want to wish the summer away. For me, it just started, basically, because summer starts officially for me in like June with the weather.
Yeah.
But you guys, June, July, gosh, July 4th is this weekend, you guys. June's already gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's terrible.
Not really.
You guys, Missouri's probably hotter than me. Texas is always hot.
Yeah.
I don't get hot till June. And I like the heat. I like the good weather. I like being outdoors, really around my house. And then September rolls. We got the conference 19th and 20th. Of course, the Detroit Lions are going to training camp end of July. I'm looking forward to my football. I'm looking to come back as repeating as champion of my fantasy football championship. I won my 4th title last fall. Yes, I did.
I did so poorly last year. I'm just
Thank you, Shelly Montgomery, for that awesome super chat.
I'm with Keith. Keith says, "Come on, fall time. Tired of the heat. I'm already tired of it too." But we've had like 100 and something degree indexes. Like it feels like 110 and stuff here. So I'm over summer.
Yeah, I'm never for summer. I don't care for it.
Well, Monica, I mean, I get it. I mean, I love it because I get 3 good months. I get June, July. Now, I will tell you this. By right around August 15th, I am summered out because August is terrible with the humidity and everything, and football is getting started up. So for a guy that loves summer, I try to jumpstart it in May, because in May we'll get some 80-degree days, but it's still nice and cool.
Right.
But that doesn't happen too often. June and July are great. August, you can take August and get rid of it, in my opinion.
Me too.
It's the worst month in Texas. It is. And September always tricks me because where I grew up, it started to cool off in September. Right? Northern California, the coastal regions are never terribly hot, but you get inland a little bit and it gets warm. But in September, at least it does start to, like mid-September, it starts to cool off. I get excited here in Texas thinking September, it doesn't cool off. And cool off till darn near Halloween.
Yeah. Missouri can go either way.
Yeah.
So when you say cools off, thank you to Scott.
Yay, Scott.
Thanks to Shelly and Scott for your awesome super chats. Great way to start the show. So I was going to ask you, Monica, Halloween, it starts to cool off. Now, what is cool?
Like I need a sweater going out at night. Like,
oh, really?
Halloween, sometimes like the kids got to bundle up.
Yeah.
Because it gets into the 50s. And if you're coming out of a screaming hot summer, like it's 80 degrees at night, and then all of a sudden it's like 60 degrees. That feels awfully cold all of a sudden. Yeah. And sometimes it does get into the 50s, like Halloween night.
So we've had snow on Halloween before.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So just saying, this conference, we
really quick. Also, thanks you also to Mr. Castro. He's been a pirate for 13 months. Thank you.
Yay.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Krista.
Yeah. So we'll have to watch the weather because it might be shorts weather. It might be hoodie weather. I don't know. Yeah. I'll keep y'all posted.
It's probably going to be kind of warm because even though summer is officially done, August 15th, I'm done with it. But September, you guys, we have 80-degree days sometimes in September. That's true in Missouri sometimes.
I mean, we have two, but my ideal for us that weekend will be like low 70s in the evenings and like the low 60s. That'd be perfect for us.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, that'd be great.
It would be a refreshing.
So I'm manifesting. I'm putting it out there and no rain.
It would be a refreshing change from the, I'm sure, still 100-degree weather in Texas.
There you go.
So when I bring my clothes down, and I travel very lightly, I have to make a mix of fall weather, fall gear, and maybe a pair of shorts.
I'll let you know. Yep.
Yeah.
Dress in layers.
Yeah, there you go.
Everybody likes to tell you, dress in layers.
Yeah, I hear that. Yes. You can always take off your clothes. Layers of clothes.
Like the heat. You can only take off so much and you're still uncomfortable.
Right.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I got to tell you, once mid-July hits here, even the last couple days, you can just be sitting poolside with your bathing suit on, and you can go sit in the shade, literally in the shade, and still drip sweat in my state. And that's not. Yeah. I'm sure it's not different. It's same for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
My windows are sweating right now.
With your air running and
my air's running, and it's like we had a storm roll through. I don't know what it did with the temperature out there, but my windows are sweating.
So I have something cool to is kind of not related to anything paranormal, but with our conferences. So last year I've been to 3 conferences in my life, I think, and then this will be my 4th. And this is kind of funny because last year I think we were in Alabama, right, Krista?
We were.
And I was selling my books and stuff, and Krista and Brandy came up to my table, and all I had on my table was, whatever 6-foot table. It was a wood table. I didn't even have a cloth on it. I had nothing to market anything. And they're like, man, you got to step up your game. This is terrible. So now the girls, when they go to conferences, they even think of me because they put this out on their table, even when I'm not there. It's a little 6x6 thing with me. And they bring it along. They travel. And so they put this on my table. Here, put something there. And you can't see it, you can see it when you come up to I'm like, well, thanks, guys. That's sweet. And I said, hey, you want a badge? They go, no, just keep it. I said, oh, thanks.
So bring it back with you in September.
Well, I might not have to. And that's the reason I bring this up, because I said, I got to get off my ass and come up with something.
Let me know if you don't get a tablecloth. I'll go buy you one.
Well, I still need a tablecloth. But I designed something. I designed a banner, you guys.
Cool.
You might have not seen it or not. If you did, you didn't say nothing. So I put this together. I'm shopping prices on it right now, though. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to show everybody. This is what I made. Cool. Me. Now here's the banner I made. I got to figure out how to put the thing up because I think it's going to be 6 foot by 4 by 6. But here it is.
I think it's fantastic.
That's wonderful. Very colorful. You will.
Yeah. Yep. So you think that's eye popping when it'll be back to my table, my vendor table.
Yep.
Randy says, get rid of the ugly guy in the right-hand corner, put his picture in place of it. And then, of course, our buddy Jason says, well, he wants people to come to his table and not be scared away.
Come on.
I think it looks
I
great.
know. Yeah, I like it. I'm just waiting for some pricing. It should be vinyl. I want a vinyl one, and I got to just buy the stand or whatever to put it in the back of the table,
That picture, that sketch of you reminds me of like a mashup between Hulk Hogan and like Randy Savage.
Yeah, well, I've been told People said I kind of looked a little like Randy Savage. And who's the other one? I forget. There's another wrestler. I said, okay, cool.
I think of wrestling when I see it.
I said, yeah, I think of wrestling too. I think it's kind of, well, you know,
It's
our
cool.
artwork's
I like
kinda-
it.
kinda cool. Yeah, I like it. So that's cool. So I'll be doing that for the
Good
conference.
deal. Good deal.
But I've got to say something. I got some bad news to start the show with, and I hate this. And there's another thing I'm gonna show y'all. Yeah. Official court document jury summons. Yay.
Oh.
I got a call July 17th to see if I'm scheduled. But here's the thing, because I don't like doing these things. I was on one. I got even voted to be the leader, which was a nightmare. Yeah.
You got to
So
people.
Yeah. So I tell you.
Just tell them you believe in Dogman and they'll
Well, now
option.
listen, though. I had to fill out a questionnaire. I'm like, oh, goody. I'm going to make myself look like an idiot.
Mhm.
Some of the questions were, do you work? I said, no. Do you drive? I said, no. Do you have relatives in law enforcement? I said, yes. See, have you been convicted of any crimes? I said, not that I'm aware of. You know?
Oh, that's funny.
And yeah, so I try to look like, a less than proper human being. So we'll see what happens. So
So then at
probably,
the bottom of it, you should have wrote, P.S. Bigfoot is real.
yeah, I was going. When they
Right.
said, "Are you employed?" I said, "Yeah, I'm a YouTuber. I talk
Yeah.
paranormal."
I talk about the reptilians that are taking over our government system.
Yes.
That would definitely.
There you go. You won't have to do it then.
Well, it's too late. That's a great idea. I should have, but
Yeah.
with my luck, I'll call and they'll think this guy's trying to get out of it.
Well, sure.
But it's true. It's true, though, what you do talk about. So you can prove it.
That I
Yeah.
can definitely prove,
Mhm.
Sure.
So we'll see what happens. If I get called, I got to go because I guess if you don't go, you technically
You
could get
can
arrested.
have a warrant issued.
Yeah.
Technically you will anyway.
Will they pick
That's a way to
you
get
up?
your warrant.
Huh?
I
Yeah.
said, that's a way to get your warrant.
Yeah.
That's a way to get a warrant. Yeah, for sure. I'll be driving around, get picked up for failure to what do they call that? Whatever it is. What do they do with the jury when you? I forget. Whatever the legal term is. But anyways, yes. So I really want no warrant out for my arrest, and I don't know how true that is. Do they arrest you? I don't.
Well, if
think
they pull you over and you have a bench warrant out, they'll take you in for depending on the cop you get, they'll take you in for the bench warrant.
Yeah.
So they're not going to come to your house and kick your door in for missing jury duty. But like when you go to renew your license or if you have to go into a government office, there's a good chance that.
So you're advising is this if I
Take bail
well,
with you if you go into a government office.
Yeah,
What?
just notify your attorney.
Yeah, there we go.
I'm going to get my license renewed. Be on
Or just pay the fee. Just
Yeah.
pay the fine.
There you go.
Oh, that's true. Well, we'll see what happens. I just don't want to do that in the middle of summer. Call me in October,
I dodged it. I got summoned a week ago, 2 weeks ago. I was supposed to go in. And it's really cool here in Grayson County because in Dallas, you have to show up. And then once you're there, sitting there for hours, they tell you whether or not they need you. But here in Grayson County, you pre-register and then they notify you the day before saying whether or not you need to show up,
Oh, wow.
which was, I appreciated the email saying, guess what? You don't have to show up, but your name goes back in the pool.
Right. Gotcha.
Yeah, I think I remember doing something like that years ago. I mean, a long time ago. I mean, this is the first time I've been contacted in, geez, a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, forever.
Yeah. I have lived here in Grayson County for 8 years now. And this is the first summons I've gotten. In Dallas, I used to get it constantly. I had to serve on a jury once. It's the worst case ever. Like my first and only jury, like
What was it on?
it was an SA case against a minor. And I
Oh,
had to sit on the jury for it. It was horrible.
oh, that's awful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, like I say, I was the what do you call lead guy, and that was
The
a
foreman.
foreman, and that was 3 days,
Mm-hmm.
and it just kind of just like I think that I don't want to talk about this too. I don't want to get into this. Yeah. I think that the people on the P Diddy trial just didn't want to sit there past 4th of July weekend. That's why that verdict came down so fast.
Maybe.
I mean, if I had to endure the assault that was watching
Yes.
the video evidence, that's going to be with me for the rest of them with the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Or, like, what's the 4th of July weekend from having already endured that? To make sure.
No, I hear it. Some
doesn't
people
continue.
probably think that way, and I think that he's going to get off pretty light. He won't even do no time, 15
They
months.
said that he's looking at a max of 10 years. That's it.
And I just saw something today. It's on TV and stuff. It says he could probably get 15 to 18 months.
Yeah.
Because he didn't get hit with the big stuff. Thank you, Mr. Castro. 5 new pirates, courtesy of
Josh.
Mr. Castro.
Yeah, I seen that yesterday. I'm like, and then I read that a maximum of 10 years, but because
Well,
he got off with the
And
big
of
charges.
course, Duke. Yes, of course. They want to be at the white party.
I wouldn't want to be at anything.
I don't know.
Neither.
Well, I gotta tell you, nobody likes that guy because nobody came forth on his behalf. It was all, and I don't understand that. That'd be a good topic for a show if you want.
A lot of stars I heard moved out of the country.
Yeah, they did. There's a lot of people you'd be surprised that are bad people. Bad people.
Yep, that were on his
I'm
little
not shocked that anybody running
Neither.
around in those circles is a bad person.
right.
Yeah.
I
Like,
agree.
I'm more shocked when they're good people. Like there's evidence of them being decent
You know
human
what I
beings.
don't
That's
understand though.
yeah.
You know what? And I know you really didn't want to get into this, Rob. but
Yeah,
real
you
quick.
can talk a little bit about. I mean, it
What I
affects
don't
everybody.
understand, okay, these people, these parties were awful. Like we all know this. Like,
Mhm.
I'm sorry, but if someone I know is having a party like that, I want no part of it. I'm done. I'm
Yeah,
away
no.
from you. I want nothing to
Oh,
do
yeah.
with you. So how did all these people, I don't get that. Like, are all these people bad people? Like, were they kept him as a friend, or, was he blackmailing them, or, you know what
I
I'm
think
saying?
a good chunk of it was he was blackmailing them, and then I think a lot of them see the power that the guy had, and you want him in your periphery. Maybe you don't want to be directly associated, but you don't want to be blacklisted, and you don't want to.
Yeah.
You clearly don't want to be on the dude's bad side. So
Yeah.
you just kind of roll along with it on the fringe, like, hey, okay,
Yeah, you know.
Yeah. I don't know. I just, that, I don't know.
But silence is complicity to me. Like if you know something horrible is happening and you don't say anything about it and you just stand by and
Right.
let it happen and pretend you don't know, you're just as complicit in it.
Yep. Absolutely. And with being a foster care parent, I'm a mandated reporter. So if I hear something or see something,
Yeah.
gotta report it. Mm-hmm.
I was watching on YouTube just because I'm fascinated, because I think that Diddy was implicated in the deaths of a couple other big time rappers you've all heard about back in the day.
Oh yeah.
That's alleged, anyways.
Yeah.
But I was watching something on YouTube. This Gene Deal, who was his former bodyguard, head of security, and he was saying these things about him on this YouTube show that I'm like, oh my gosh, the guy's a walking monster,
Mhm. Yeah.
And yeah, and the power. And Joanne or somebody in chat says it's all about power. Barbara did. That's it. It's all about power. If you want to make it in Hollywood,
Yeah.
in the music industry, you do sell. A lot of these young kids sell their souls.
Yeah. Consider Bieber. Look at all the stuff that
Yeah.
he apparently went through to get famous. Is it worth it? Like clearly at the end of the road, your mental health and your physical health are just tanked.
Yeah. And your morals.
Yeah,
like,
your spiritual health has got to be in the toilet too. I mean, all of it's just compromised. And is it
Yeah.
worth it really at the end of the day when you're just a husk of a human being?
right. Fame and fortune, money isn't everything.
Yeah,
No.
no, not at all. I wouldn't trade it.
Not
I
at
mean,
all.
don't get me wrong. I'm not anti-money, but it's not going to make you a better person.
Happy.
It does not make you happy necessarily. It might make you more comfortable, but it doesn't necessarily make you happy.
Yep.
Yes.
It won't fill that hole that's in there. if you have one.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know, and I do love money too. I like the capitalist system.
Well, who doesn't? You know, we all like
it makes things easier. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Makes life easy. Yeah. But to do the things some of these people do, I could never do it. It would make me happy if I did things that
were morally wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't do it.
Oh, yeah.
But you know, there's a lot of people out there that, like you said, they sell their souls, you know.
Yeah, they do.
And my inner peace is worth so much more than that. Like, because I have to live in here 24/7.
Right.
I've got a moral compass. Like my peace of mind is worth.
That's a good statement.
Priceless.
Me too.
Absolutely. I agree with you guys. I agree with that, Monica. I agree with Duke. Makes a good point. Money isn't everything, but being broke isn't anything. That's true.
I'm not anti-money. I get it. Like like money.
We all love money. Let's face it.
Yeah.
But
I'm not going to sell my soul for what happened at those parties.
Not doing that. I'm not going to lie and slander and do other nefarious activities to seek to get money. I'm not doing that.
Yeah. And it's not just like the P. Diddy, you know, circle either. There's other stars that are shady. You know, look at some of the religions that like Scientology, like I know like Tom Cruise is a big part of, and they say that's awful. You know, like can't remember what her name is, but the one actress, she came out.
Oh, Leah Remini.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Like how she was treated awful, and you know, so
I think for that it's the money you put in. And I think that Tom Cruise, I mean, I've heard stories where Tom Cruise was just a really genuinely good person. I think he's so far up the chain in that religion that he doesn't see what's happening with the peasantry, you know,
right.
He's not aware of what's going on, like in the trenches of that.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
No, you're right. And a lot of people they don't know until they get involved, like Leah Remini, Tom Cruise, whoever.
It's rubbed in their face.
And John Travolta is part of that too, isn't he?
Yeah,
so many people, and like a shocking number of people in Hollywood.
There's a whole bunch.
I don't understand that. Like, why? That's a cult, man.
It's a cult. I was just
a religion based on a science fiction book.
Yeah. How do you brainwash? And I guess it happens because look at all the cults out there. You know, how do you brainwash somebody who starts out sane, or you think they're sane, but there's got to be something going on that
like an insecurity they feed into. I mean, it's predatory. Like cult leaders are predatory, certainly in their methodologies. Sure. And if somebody who's weak-minded or has an insecurity, they'll figure that out and feed that so that the other person becomes dependent. I mean, it's sad.
Yeah, it is. It's very sad.
It is sad, and again, it's the society we live in, and it's only going to get worse, unfortunately, in my opinion. But enough of that.
Yeah.
I did have a story I was going to share today. I was kind of figuring out something, but Krista was because I figured today's show we would just introduce my new co-host Monica.
I introduced myself by jumping on her.
She did. She was so gung ho.
And she just looked around. She didn't realize she was on there.
Yeah.
Thanks for the laugh, Monica.
Yeah, no, that was cool. I'm like, whoa, threw off my whole spiel. My whole spiel was shot. I rebounded. That was funny, Monica. That's cool.
Like, I'm not kidding. I have dual panes up, and I thought I was clicking on the YouTube pane, not the screen pane.
Yeah, but, at least you weren't caught eating or anything like that.
No,
right?
My mouth, like, with food. Yeah.
I did have that story, but Krista, I was talking with Krista a little earlier, and you came across something you thought you'd like to talk about a little bit and see what everyone's take is on. You were watching some program,
just TV show.
Yeah, when you found it kind of. What was that all about?
I thought it was interesting. It was actually Paranormal 911 is what I was watching.
Okay.
And it was a guy. He was a EMT, and he was called out to a case for a guy having a seizure.
Okay.
Well, come to find out, the guy wasn't really having a seizure, that he was actually possessed. And it goes back to thinking, like how many people, like even back in the day, like people who would, who might have been named as crazy, but how many of these were really maybe actually possessed, or people who have abilities were put in, these mental institutions for they really weren't sick in that way. You know what I'm saying? It just kind of makes you think that, yeah, because that guy wasn't sick. He needed a priest, not a doctor.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And how many of these cases they mimic sickness though,
Sure.
Possessed people mimic sickness, you found?
Well, he was
Mental
convulsing.
health. Yeah.
Mental health.
Well, and like the guy was
physical,
having
too.
convulsions, and they thought that he was epileptic, having seizures. Well, he wasn't actually epileptic and having seizures. He was possessed. He was fighting. He was doing like inner fighting, so it made him look like he was having seizures.
I think that most people most people that aren't into this, right, would look at that and they would think he was having seizures or he was like severely mentally incapacitated in some way,
Yeah. Well, apparently he was, from what the guy on TV said, that the patient was Hispanic and didn't speak English. However, when the demon came through to the EMT, he spoke plain English, great English. So, yeah. I don't know. I just thought it was interesting. It just got me thinking, like, how many.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think these cases are all interesting. It wasn't the one, what was that? What was her name? Emily Rose.
Emily Rose.
Was that a mental case issue? Or was she really taken over by the devil?
I personally believe she was possessed. I believe that. It started, just little things, if I remember correctly, like, she would stop eating and, things like that, and just got worse and worse, progressively worse. And they thought it was like a mental, something mental going on, maybe like, with her not eating, maybe they thought she was anorexic or, something like that. But I personally believe that she really was possessed. That's my
I mean, isn't she the case where the priests were like, the rite of exorcism requires like a lot, like really it's stringent, as you know. Mm-hmm. So there's like fasting and everything involved. And I don't know that was she not eating voluntarily, or were they not allowing her to eat as part of a fasting ritual?
Well, I think in the beginning, she had quit eating, so she was losing weight. This is before they realized that she was possessed.
Right.
So maybe they thought she was anorexic and had, an eating disorder.
Well, isn't that the case where the priest was charged with her death?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because rites of exorcism are brutal.
Yeah. I talk about this all the time just because I'm scared of the topic, really. Not that I'm scared. I just, like I've said many times, I believe that goes on. I believe that demons can take over a soul or a body, right? Sure. And I got to tell you, I'm a firmest believer today in that, because I've said this many times. I hate to always plug this, but the Art Bell had like a 10-part episode, 10 series with Father Malachi Martin. If anybody's into this type of thing, he was a Roman Catholic priest who spent his entire life, excising demons. And you're right, Monica. There's a lot of things you have to go through. Mm-hmm. I couldn't believe how much that you in the Catholic Church had to get approved. And it would take sometimes years, these cases to get approved. Yet this person that's really possessed is withering away to almost death.
And they may not get approved.
Yeah, because they'll send the priest out. They don't just automatically call the church and they show up.
Yeah,
with holy water and a Bible. Like they do mental health evaluations on the individuals. They want to make sure that it's truly something spiritual and not something physical that's wrong with
or mental.
Mm-hmm. So
there's a lot to it.
There's a lot to it, and in those extreme cases where it's actually happening. Sometimes if you have to wait so long, by the time they get to the subject at hand, they might be already too far gone, right?
Yeah,
that's true.
And
the local priest is doing what he can to keep it under control, but he's not. Like, there are specifically trained priests to deal with exorcisms. It's not every like the priest giving your your communion every Sunday morning isn't necessarily the one who would be doing probably not the one who'd be doing
Probably not doing exorcism.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
again,
The one, like if there's an exorcist here in St. Louis, he don't do the ones here in St. Louis. Like he might travel to Texas to do those ones, you know. They don't keep them in the same area.
And really briefly on that, this Father Malachi, he did a lot overseas in different countries, Peru, you know, and just went in and did it. That's what got his all experience as a younger man. And then he moved and set up shop in New York City, in Manhattan, believe it or not, where his office was. And then he went on the BMR Show and said, look, when I got these cases, he kind of started going outside of the church and not talking to his peers and just did them anyways. Just because he knew that if you waited for all the red tape, that again, the person might be not worth saving.
Yeah.
Not that they're not worth saving, they could be already gone.
Right.
Too far gone to
bring back.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's the thing with exorcism too, you know, like Emily Rose, you know, she passed away, you know. It's a very dangerous thing to do.
It is.
Yeah. And I'm wondering too, if you don't know what you're doing with it, performing an exorcism, you're going to actually kill, quote unquote, the host, the body.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't know what you're doing in any type of like demonic type case, partaking in, you know, you're putting yourself and others at risk for sure.
Yeah.
I know the very first case that I didn't realize was a demonic case, but it really was. I had no business being there. None.
What was that about?
Oh, I've told you about it before. It was the guy that lost his boys and he was doing EVPs and thinking it was his kids. And he actually opened the door to a demonic entity.
Oh boy.
Yeah. It was sad.
I get wanting to talk to the kids, but man, you got to be.
Yep. Yeah. He was just grieving so bad, you know, and he opened the doors and he also had a 13-year-old daughter at home and she was being touched inappropriately by the entity. And I asked the girl, I said, did your brothers do this in life? And she said, no. I was like, it's not your brothers, you know, because he had everybody, the mom, the sister, the girl, everybody believing that it was the boys and it was not the boys. And that's the thing, you know, the demonic, they
find a way in, they find your weakness. Yeah.
And his boys,
it was his grief, which, you know, any parent would be grieving in that situation. That's easy. I get it.
It was just a sad case. It really was.
But
honestly, I had no business being there. I was in way over my head, and it was, you know, gosh, it's probably been 15 years ago for that one, but I had no business being there.
Well, kind of goes with the territory. You live, you learn, you move on, and now you know what to do differently, I guess, is really the lesson you probably learned on that. So, Monica, you can maybe have a little more crackers and cheese if you like in the meantime, because I'm going to tell a little story here, which doesn't take a little bit of time, not a lot, but it's kind of weird. I think it has to do with voodoo. I think. I'm not 100% sure, though.
That can also open up the door to demonic possession.
Yeah, and this takes place in Louisiana. Yeah, so automatically you think, whoa, you know, what's going on here? And so this guy, how should I start? This guy says this is early summer of 2001. And this guy, he says his name's Ron, and he says his brother's name is Steve. And they were hiking in the bayous of Louisiana. And he told me he's not going to get on and say his exact location, you know. And he says his name isn't his real name. You know, the whole song and dance that I typically get with people that just want to tell a story to me.
Sure.
He says that the people of this particular location have been spooked for decades. And he says, and Rob, I'm a member of this community. And he goes on to say that he was 32 years old. And he says he was waiting to send me this email. He didn't know if he wanted to or should, but he said, go ahead and post it or tell it if you want to. He says today he's now 53 years old. And he says again, it's the first time he's written about this or communicated this to anybody. So he happened to come across the channel. He's a subscriber to all of us, in fact. He goes, yeah, I think he feels comfortable on our platform. So I'm like, cool, thanks. So anyway, he goes on to tell me that he goes with his brother Steve, and they taken their swamp boat deep into the bayou looking to do some gator hunting, which again is very popular, as we all know, down in Louisiana, the bayous. He said he had a very loud boat. It was very, they kept it up the best they could, but it was super loud, and it was very distractive. And they said they always had to shut it down when they got close to their hunting area because they would scare off the gators. So what they would do is they would shut it down and they would drift for a good 30, 40 minutes when they got into their hunting area. And he says in the area that they drifted into, they heard stories about this location for years that many of the locals deemed it as being taboo, and that many strange hauntings had plagued the area. And he says, Rob, many a person that I spoke with had come back shaken and confused and just kind of not within their self, right? And they couldn't speak a lot out of it. They were utter like gibberish. It's like their mind was kind of discombobulated. So during this little expedition, he went to the local man. I believe his name was Jasper. And he told this Jasper where he had planned to travel in this part of the taboo part of Louisiana Bayou. He goes, Rob, this Jasper guy emphatically urged me not to go to this spot. He said, Rob, he implored me not to go here. Any spot but there, he says. And this guy, Ron, says now he's really intrigued, though. He's heard about the local legend of the taboo area, and he kind of was one of the reasons why he kind of wanted to go here. And good old man Jasper got his juices flowing. I got to go. So they embark on this little hunting trip looking for gator in the taboo area. Okay. So he says he gets there about 5:30 in the morning. Again, the very loud boat he's got, whatever, shuts it down, starts drifting around here. So he says he's drifting about the swampy waterways for about an hour. And occasionally that him and his brother Steve would pull out a paddle to keep the boat on a straight navigation because they shut down the engines. And so they're doing this all by hand now. And so they're outside of the tree line, and they're looking into the tree line from the bayou. And all of a sudden he says, Rob, the bayou got incredibly silent. Now, again, we've all heard the stories about the woods becoming incredibly silent, right? The forest, Yeah, Rob, it was so silent you could not hear anything. You could not hear anything in the swamp, anything back in the woods. Not a bird chirping, nothing. Not a sound can be heard. Boy, he got chills, runs up his spine. He says, man, this is so odd, he's thinking. He goes, it was a very warm day. But during the warm day, he and his brother, they both catch this chill. Get very cold. And he says, this never happens in the swamp. We're always profusely sweating. So he says, this was different. He goes on to say he was cold, and he says it was so cold that my perspiration felt like ice cubes dripping down my back. Looks at his brother Steve, and his brother Steve, you guys, is shaking from the cold. Now again, it's Louisiana. It's 90 degrees. It's humid. He's got icicles dripping down his back. His brother is frigid, shaking.
Mhm.
He pleaded with his brother, "Hey man, let's get out of here. It's not right. Let's just turn back." And then Steve says to Ron, "Man, he goes, okay, we're gonna turn around." But he says, "Look, there's something lurking from the boggy shoreline. I can see something in the shoreline that looks very unnatural in the woods."
Hmm.
He thought maybe he was seeing something. He's very cold. Maybe he's getting delusional. He doesn't know, but he didn't feel that this was right. So he says, "You know what?" Tells his brother, "Yeah, this isn't right. Yeah, you're cold. We're both cold. I'm going to fire up the boat. I'm going to get the hell out of here." So upon attempting to start up this vessel that they're on, the vessel wouldn't turn over. Doesn't start. They're drifting. They're cold. They see some eerie image in the background of the shoreline, and the boat won't start. And then, through this peril, whatever's going on here, they hear this sinister witch-like laugh mocking them come from the shoreline, from where they saw this kind of weird, doesn't know what it is, but it looked weird in the shoreline. This sinister witch-like, again, a laughter. So Steve and Ron, they're like, oh my gosh, they're panicking, and they're trying to keep starting this boat, and it's not starting up. And this shrilling laughter that's mocking them, really, in their mind, that's what they're thinking, is getting louder, and it's getting closer and closer to their yacht, their vessel, right? It won't turn over. It won't stop. Again, they both looked to the edge of the swamp and tried to find the source of this laughter. Now they're like, hey, man, we can't go nowhere, so we better open our eyes and ears to see what's going on out in front of us at the shoreline. Then they see suddenly a figure of what appeared to be a man. But now this man, he's telling me, it kind of took on the shape of a giant dog. He says, but Rob, or even a wolf. But Rob, there's no wolves in this part of the swamp. And he goes, especially with no dog, because this thing was standing about 5.5, 4 foot tall on his hind legs. He says this creature was like jet black with high pointed ears and a snout much longer than any dog he's ever seen in his life. And it's definitely longer than any wolf, but wolf, he already, possibly a dog. Yeah, a wolf. No, not whatsoever. Right. So now this image, just whatever he thinks he's seeing, is starting to proceed and walk parallel to the shoreline on the two legs. And this thing appears to be carrying something underneath one of the arms. He says, Rob, at this point, I can't clearly make out what it is, what I can see. He says, then this beast, this creature, whatever, it disappeared back into the swamp, back into the edge of the swamp, and it kind of got out of sight. So Ron and Steve, they both go back. They're like, wow, what was this? They're trying to process this, what they're seeing, what their vision is. And they go back and try to start the boat, keeping their eyes on the shoreline. Then all of a sudden, out of the blue, they still can't start the boat. What appears to be the dead carcass of an alligator was flung from inside the tree line, not landing like not less than 3 or 4 feet, right, directly smack dab in front of their boat. The gator's jaws, he says, Rob, is snapped. It's like, you ever see, King Kong, the movies. Basically, both sides of the it was like, boom, busted open, right? And he says the bowels of this thing were just hanging out, not ate upon, and he was just gutted, and all the bowels, the intestines are hanging out from the belly side. Horrifyingly, man, the brothers are like, beside themselves, and all of a sudden, to make matters worse, that horrifying, mocking, witch-like laughter starts emanating from the tree line. Starts up again. Then all of a sudden, everything went silent again. Again, these guys, for like the 15th time, I've probably said it 10 times already. They go back to try to start their boat up. The boat starts up without haste immediately after the final witch laughter and seeing this alligator thrown at them. The boat starts right up. He goes, Rob, I do not know what this was to this day, but for the first time, I felt evil. And he went back to old man Jasper, who warned them about not going there. And old man Jasper, he says, just nodded his head and said, I told you, boys, that's evil. That's some nasty voodoo. Glad you made it back. I thought that was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what is it? I don't know. But what do you guys think about that? I see Monica always in deep thought.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm thinking there's so many different elements to that, that like it's hard to decipher what exactly it could be. It could be multiple.
Yeah. It's hard to say because it could be like some serious voodoo. It could be somebody conjuring, right? And if they're conjuring something out of out of the ethereal plane or whatever you want to call it, like it's going to require a lot of energy to do that, which typically makes the area cold. It would potentially like jack up the electrical starter on the boat, right? The starter switch wouldn't work. So, and who's to say, like, he saw this werewolf looking creature, right? Or dogman or whatever you want to call it, looking creature, that she could have been manifesting that to freak him out, to chase him away from the area that she was in. And the cackling isn't necessarily if this was voodoo, like the practitioner, because we don't know what a dogman laugh sounds like. A lot of people say they sound like hyenas or they look like hyenas. Like the one I saw had that hyena hump on its back. Who's to say it doesn't have that, that like high pitched, like hyena cackly laugh, right? So, it's certainly a possibility that it was like pretty strong practitioner if they're conjuring like that.
Yep. Sounds like you need to stay out of that area.
It sounds I'm thinking that there was some serious voodoo going on. I don't think that it was a case of a dog man or anything like that. I think that perhaps this again, let's say it's a witch or a witch doctor, maybe, I don't know. They cast that image, like you said, manifested something that they saw, which really wasn't there. I think maybe that, I don't know, does that make sense?
It could be a man or, I do think I think something was conjured for sure. That would explain the sudden cold.
Yeah.
And the starter not working. Who knows what it was she conjured? I don't think it was like a flesh and blood dog. Like it's not always here. It's something that was pulled in for sure and took that shape. And it's likely just, to scare people off. I think if they wanted to hurt you, they had a lot of opportunity. That gator is scary, but did they say how big the gator is? Because gators come this size all the way up to like 15 feet.
Well, of course, Well, I guess big enough to know where it got, boom, he did make mention that it was
like a 5-foot gator. it's still a,
a 5 foot. That's
good size.
Yeah, it's a decent size.
And
obviously that takes a lot of force and to disembowel a gator as well, because their hide is tough, as we all know.
Yeah, hey, they make boots down there in Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Snakeskin boots. I might have to get me a cut up here. I don't know. But I gotta tell you though, the thing that really, is as scary as seeing this creature in the woods and the creepy, witchy laughter mocking them, and of course, the number one, the boat not starting would freak the hell out of me.
Right.
When you're going through this and seeing something and hearing this odd sounds, and of course, in the back of their minds, that old man Jasper told them about the stories about many people don't go there because it's not right. So that's got to be playing on their mind. And then, you guys, I got to tell you though, the thing that would freak me out the most, and it's the least scary part of this story. 90 plus degrees, 100 degrees in Louisiana. You're in the bayou. It's bugs. It's humid. It's hot. You're sweating your you know what off if you're a dude.
You can sweat them off as a girl too.
And we all have a
little
butt.
higher north.
We do have a butt. Yeah, we're at least we're profusing out of our. Never mind. But what I'm saying is, if you're an ice cold and to be shivering, that would be to me the scariest of all. I don't know if you guys agree, but that just doesn't happen.
That's the automatic get out of the area. It's complete silence.
Yeah.
And instant cold, instant cold. Time to book it. It ain't nothing good about to happen. I can tell you that.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I know that Krista, you study a little bit on demonology and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And even in your investigations into paranormal, now I'm probably going to be wrong when I say this. That's why I'm asking you. Is it always when you feel something cold in the air, or all of a sudden you go from a warm room to a cold room, or whether you're in a house or in the field, the woods, out on the water, whatever? Is that always a sign of something? There's different energy being involved with this, something that might not be pleasant?
No, you could just have a draft in the house, or something like that.
Right.
You want to look around for a reasonable explanation before you just jump to paranormal. But yes, it can, but not always.
Yeah, if you're in the middle of the woods and experience that, there's no reasonable explanation.
That's.
And also just the opposite too. Some people, claim of extreme heat too, So not always just a cold thing.
Okay. Yeah, I never heard that before.
Yep. I've never experienced the heat side of things myself. I've been in a room where, it gets cold, the temperature drops, things like that, but I've never experienced the heat.
Yeah, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I haven't. I mean, I've seen plenty of ghosts. I saw the ghost at the bar. The ghost is my childhood ghost. I've seen the shadow person.
Do you remember a temperature change or anything?
I was about to say I never remembered. In fact, if you guys recall, when that paranormal person came to me in the ex-wife's house, but I didn't know she was going to be there, but she and I had that. And I remember, as I always tell the story distinctly, is when she was in that room where all the little artifacts were, I was standing in there with the ex-wife and this woman, and she got cold. Now, I didn't feel anything. From every room that she walked through every room, and we got that room, she says, this is cold. She got a draft. She felt a draft and got cold. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I feel no different. My wife, no different at the time, right?
Yeah.
And that's what she brought up.
When we do like a private case, like literally we'll turn off the air conditioning. So there's no, you don't get any false positives. So, I guess it just depends on the circumstances. But yeah, if we're in a house and there's no air running and you do get, a cold breeze or something, then you might want to, investigate a little bit more.
Sure. And if she's the only one experiencing it, but she's the only sensitive person in the room, that makes sense.
True. Yep.
Because she's going to feel it on her physical plane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. And, Monica has a point there, just because, there's plenty of times when I went to haunted locations and, not everybody feels the same thing. Pay attention to your body. Some people feel like it's a spider web you're walking through, or, it might be an itch or whatever. Just pay attention to how your body feels.
And isn't that weird too, how certain people, it doesn't matter. Let's say you're in the woods, maybe you're in a house. I don't know. I find that always weird, though, that people's perceptions of what they see is different. The three of us could be in a haunted forest. I'm just throwing that out there. and I see what I think is a spirit of a person floating around.
Mhm.
Monica can see, her dog man from the past. And Krista, you could see an alien.
Mhm.
Isn't that weird how three people can perceive things differently? I'm wondering if that's something that is none of the three, but what we're stumbling across is putting that projection into our minds.
Mhm.
I think that's entirely possible.
Mhm. Yeah.
It lets you see it. It presents to you like it wants to, or your biggest fear. I've heard that before too. Like,
Yeah, your
like
fears.
presents as what you're afraid of. Like something that would feed off of fear is going to present as something that it knows will scare you.
So there's a house in Union, Missouri, and it's called the Fear House. It was on several TV shows, and there's been books wrote about it. But it was a true demonic case as well, and it played off of people's fears. And the one guy that lived in there was a single dad, and his fear was not being able to get to his children. One of his children's fears had a fear of spiders. Another one had a fear of clowns, and I don't remember what the third one had a fear of, but they would see, it would torment each family member by their fear. And it ultimately at the end, it had his children locked in their bedroom, and he couldn't open the door to get in, or they couldn't open it up to get out. So that's very true what you said, Monica. Like it's right here and 45 minutes away from me, it happened.
Mm-hmm.
It's called the Union Screaming House. It's an awful house. Yep.
The Union Screaming House definitely sounds creepy.
Yeah, I actually did a live from there, not inside it, but outside it, and the house is it's been interesting. It's been a rental house for many years because nobody never stays in it. And when I was filming it, somebody, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, I go.
No.
In the parking lot across the road from it, but it's just such a well-known house, that has bad stuff happen. So, yeah. Crazy. Like supposedly like someone was hung from the tree outside, and
Oh my goodness.
some battle years ago around the area. The whole street is actually haunted. Like several people have committed suicide on that street, and it's just a bad.
Did you hear the story recently? I think it was recently. It's recent to me about a woman, and I thought she was in Missouri. I could be wrong, but her kids were out hiking and they came across the head hanging from the noose in the tree.
No,
had unalived themselves and had been there for so long that their body had, of course, withered and fallen. But the only thing left was like,
I did not hear that.
Still on the noose. Yeah.
Oh.
Like, can you imagine like taking a hike and you're like, what the?
Yeah, like what you run into. Or is it real? You'd have to look to see if it's like maybe a prop or something.
Yeah,
or
I mean, my initial would be like somebody's Halloween decoration.
Right, me too. Yeah,
but then if you're in the middle of the woods,
touching it or something.
Okay.
Right.
Well, I got to tell you the creepy story that I don't like to talk about too often is seeing not humans, but I told you guys this when I was younger. When I was driving our bikes to the trails back by the creek, where we saw 4 skinned kitties strung up from the neck in the
that's
tree.
awful. Yeah.
And that was not even paranormal. That was a sick person, which ended up being the guy. That ended up being the guy that killed his grandma.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awful.
Did they get that hangings though? Wasn't there a movie which I happened to watch where that was part of the grounds over there, where the people would always see 4 people. I don't know if they're men, women, or children, but there's humans hanging from the trees. Was that in one of those movies that's alleged to be true?
It's in a lot of movies.
Mm-hmm.
Is that just something Hollywood falls back on just because it's creepy? You think?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's creepy. And it's not to say that you wouldn't experience that. I mean, the land holds energy, right? And I wouldn't put it past something like that, exactly like that happening in history. And it's just pushing that energy back out.
I think back in the day, like, back in the cowboy days where they would just take matters into their own hands and they would take someone out and hang them, you know, like you don't know, but it could be your big oak tree, you know, from years ago in your backyard that was used.
I always look at oak trees and think, oh, it's a hanging tree.
Yeah, because they're old, you know, they live a long time. So trees like that very well could be, you know. And like Monica said, they hold energy. Yeah.
Speaking of energy and attachments, I've got to run this by both of you because I do not think I told you to this. For sure not Monica, maybe Krista. But you guys all remember the story I did about my niece way, way, way back when, where she was talking into the closet and it was that little Indian apparition where her whole family got wiped out.
Yeah.
I didn't tell you that, Monica. And I saw this ghost. I thought it was my niece, and it was a little Indian girl.
I vaguely remember that. I don't remember the part about your niece seeing it in the closet.
Yeah, I know. She was speak to us. Her name was Jenny, and told her
mom and dad. Wasn't it a new house they lived in too?
That was a brand new house in a brand new subdivision, and the entire subdivision. The entire well, here's the thing about the subdivision. My brother did research because I saw the ghost. My niece for sure, my brother and sister, and my mom seen the same ghost, thinking it was Lauren, my niece, right? Because she'd always peek in. I would spend the night out there in the guest room, and the door would open, and it looked like my niece, the shadow. And I say, "Oh, come see Uncle Robbie. You know, I'll tell you a story. What's up?" She'd always would run away and slam the door. But when I would go down the hallway, she was always neatly tucked away in her bed, and there was no way a 5-year-old kid could do that, right? It'd be sound asleep and tucked in like her mom tucked her in. So everyone's seen this, and then she went on to tell her mom and dad later that it was her friend Jenny, who does not like the white man because they massacred her family. And my brother did some investigation on this property, and this property and this entire subdivision was built on an Indian ancient burial ground, burial mound, where there was a massacre that allegedly happened way, way back when. Okay, that's the information he got. So they moved because they kept getting these hauntings, and they were getting kind of, I'm not going to use the word scared because it was always an innocent little, but they would not know it was the daughter sometimes at night, right? I mean, they knew now they had a ghost, but they didn't like that, you know. It was just and the wife.
Not everybody's cool with it, yeah.
Yeah, so let's move out. And a few years later, my brother ran into one of the neighbors. He goes, "Hey, neighbor, hey, old neighbor, this is Joe Blow. Remember me? I was your neighbor. You moved out pretty quickly after not living there for no more like a year, not even a year." He goes, "Yeah." I goes, "Yeah, just wasn't for me." He goes, "Oh, your house was haunted?" The guy says to my brother. He goes, "Yeah, I wasn't going to bring that up because it's kind of, who talks about that." He goes, "Oh, yeah, mine's haunted too, man. I moved out. The whole area is haunted, man." And he even brought it to my brother about people did research that this was a place that something happened back in the day involving cowboys and Indians. Boom, massacre happened, right? So anyway, so that's kind of that. That's the nuts and bolts of that story. I seen it, blah, blah, blah. And that happened way back a long time ago. I mean, she was 5 years old, and today she's 28. She's just turned 28, so a long time ago. 5 years ago, I'm in my bedroom, about 5-6 years ago. I know I've never told this to anybody. I'm in my bedroom, and now my niece now is in her 20s, and I'm sleeping, and I normally, for whatever the reason, you guys, I never shut my bedroom door. I keep it open. I don't close it. And then I'm laying in bed, and yes, it's the summertime, and I have the air conditioning on, and then my bedroom door is shut. It just slams shut. I'm like, and I was in a sleep, and it shut so loud that I woke up. I'm like, what the hell? And I saw the door shut. And I get up out of bed. I look around. What in the hell? Yes, the central air is running, but I never experienced that because I kind of blow it off. So I kind of go open the door, and I open it. I'm like, wow. And I'm a little freaked out. I go, hello, yelling to nobody. Go back to bed. I'm sitting in bed. I'm kind of still a little startled. And then my bedroom door starts slowly closing. And it shuts, you guys. And now I'm like, what in the world, man? And now you guys, as you know, I've already seen ghosts. I've already seen shadow people. This is a different, I'm, in my 40s or whatever. I said, I've got something going on here, I'm thinking. Then the door opens. Much like the door would open when I seen my niece open the door, my alleged niece, which was not my niece, which was the Indian ghost, would open. It kind of had that same vibe. It kind of slowly opened, maybe this much, 6 to 8 inches. And guess what's standing there? The shadow of my niece, but now about 2 feet taller. Because she's not that much taller than she was. She's 5. She's like 4'8" now, And I'm like, Lauren, like I did years ago. How the hell did you get in the house? Do you have a? I said this, you guys. I don't care that you're here. I get up, and I think it's her. I do, and I go to the door, and the door shuts on me. And I open the door. I'm freaking out. I call my niece. It's 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. I call her. I go, are you in my house somewhere? What the hell are you talking about, Uncle Rob? You just woke me up. What are you doing? You drinking? I go, no, I'm sleeping. I just saw you. You didn't see nobody. So we're talking a little bit. And guess what? Now I don't know if that apparition that I saw of Lauren followed me home. I haven't seen it again. Never happened again. I've not seen it again. Okay. But I got to tell you about strange. That was strange, you guys. Can't explain it. Never happened again. But, I just got this weird life, I guess. I don't know.
I don't mean to go back. You said, with your niece and stuff that was sorry, my dog's sleeping and snoring. Yeah. But I don't mean to go back and you said something about the Indian burial grounds, which got me thinking. We talked about energy being out on the lands and stuff. And I'm in Missouri, and we have the Trail of Tears that went through here. We have, the Oregon Trail that went through here, through so many states. And now there's, houses and subdivisions and things like that on, or close to a lot of these locations, which could be cause for a lot of hauntings, because back in the day when those trails went through, if you got sick, where are they going to bury you? They're just going to bury you where they're at. They're not going to take you to a cemetery. So how many bodies are spread out, for things like that happened? Just kind of got me thinking when you talked about the Indian burial grounds. There's, I think, not just Indian burial grounds. I think there's, some of those trails
along the trails.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
a burial ground is a burial ground, right? Whether it's Indian, human, white folk, whatever, Asian. I mean, get some. I don't know. I just, who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just glad that it hasn't happened again. I really don't need that. It's kind of creepy. A door getting shut. The door getting shut on you. Oh yeah, okay, Miss Tough Woman, Monica. Yeah, you could. It's just weird. I don't mind it in a strange way, but I just, when you think you're alone, the biggest thing is I thought there was a home invader.
Yeah,
I really did.
Sure.
That was. I mean, it was a ghost. Okay, big deal. I've seen 20 ghosts in my life, right? By now.
Yeah. I just got to put this up because he kind of made me laugh out loud. Used to have an Oregon Trail, but now shaving is popular.
Oh, God. Joe Breezy.
Yeah. Speaking of Joe Breezy, I seen in the comments that he said that he was going to come to our conference. And if you come, Joe, we'll be glad to give you a booth spot if you'd like to come.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
You get a vendor table, sir.
Vendor table. That's what you meant. That's what I meant.
I like this Diabolical Debbie, who's a recently subscriber. Thanks, Debbie. It's not your shadow that follows you. It's me, Diabolical Debbie. I like Trademark, by the way. Wow, Debbie. I gotta get with you and the girls. Maybe you sound like you might be show material.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yep.
I must tell you, gals, that I don't think we're going to go to full 90 because there's some things I needed to do. I wanted to introduce my new co-host, Monica Rollins. And I love Krista.
Nobody knows her. Really?
Yeah. I don't know. There's some new people in here. If you're new, please subscribe to Bigfoot Mystery Rob, Monica Rollins, Our Paranormal World, and Krista from the Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast. Did you guys understand that? I don't know. Yeah, I'm just having fun with Monica. Tex, I don't know when he'll be back. He told me, I'm glad you got Monica. Because I just can't do it. I'm tired. And he is tired, you guys. It's only the fourth new co-host I've had on this show. And I'm sure that'll be changing in the fall.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll stop in when I can because my work hours have actually changed too. So
okay, yeah.
I'm only going into the office on Tuesdays and Wednesdays now. I am off. I'm working from home on Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays.
Okay, because this show has changed so many different times. I used to have guests on. We do the guest thing on Tuesday, which is fine. Once in a while, we'll have the occasional guest on here because most people at 1 o'clock in the afternoon are working.
Yeah.
So I decided to make it more of a tell a story or two, or just talk about whatever we talk about because we all are pretty well versed in all the subjects.
Those are my favorite. I love just open conversation.
I do too. They're fun, you know. And we do similar things Saturday, which is a little different. BJ LaFleur has a question. LaPierre, excuse me.
A comment, yes. So I put it in there.
Yes, BJ LaPierre, by the way, author and illustrator, is going to be our guest, Krista, next Tuesday.
Awesome. Very cool.
So, yes, she'll be joining the show to tell us about her experiences in her walks and journey through life in the paranormal and otherwise, UFOs and things of that nature. She's very nervous, everybody. So we are no reason to be nervous.
No, she did good on Paul's show. She went on Paul's show.
Yeah, she was on Paul's show. Yeah, so I look forward to seeing BJ.
Yeah,
who's an author. She sent me her book not too long ago. I think it's supposed to be a coloring book. Yes. So, but yeah, guys, gals, great show. I look forward to doing Monica. Oh my gosh. Working with Monica. And Krista, of course, when you pop in, the three of us.
Don't even go there, Rob.
God damn, I'm not. And I don't, my God, what happened there? Jeez, oh Pete. It's not even Saturday night. I haven't even had a drink yet.
You're just so excited. You're just so
yes. I guess gotta get off of here now. No, but thank you once again, you guys, and we look forward to having you guys on the show when you can. Krista, pop on in. It'll just be us two, us three, or whomever, chit chatting and doing a show. It was a great show. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Yep, me too. Fun.
Yep, lots of fun.
I want to thank everybody for coming on in. Shelly Montgomery, Scotty, Mr. Castro again for your super chats. Mr. Castro, 13-month member. He gifted 5 pirates, mateys. Scotty with $10. Shelly with $5. Go Pirates. Thank you guys. Appreciate that. Always appreciated, never expected, of course. So for Monica and for I do this slowly and for Krista, you guys know what I'm looking for here. Have a great day.
See y'all.
I know.
This is the future. Evolution.
The Crossing Realms Conference launches September 19th and 20th and will dock in Richmond, Missouri. This is already being called the event of the year, folks, with an unprecedented list of speakers and special guests, 2 days of cryptids, UFOs, and paranormal presentations, along with a celebrity-filled ghost hunt, meet and greet, gallery reading, vendors, and a film screening. This promises to be both educational and fun. Go to eventbrite.com to secure your tickets and vendor slots before they are all abducted. They're going fast.